Woman had been robbed of hundreds of thousands of dollars but was too scared to call the police. All she could do was cover her mouth with a pillow and scream in rage. The robbers had discovered that her eyes were fake and her hair was dyed. Even her name was fake. It was obvious what they were hiding from. They were sure she wouldn't dare call the police. Before they left, they told Amy,
"Next time be more careful, okay? There are a lot of people out there a lot more friendly."
Woman kills herself to frame her husband, worked hard to create the illusion that she was killed, waiting for her husband to be arrested. The plan had gone well, but now she had to hold back. Soon Amy, who had no money to pay her rent, was evicted. The police patrol scared her, but this woman always finds a way. He contacted an ex-boyfriend, with a face full of bruises and a great acting ability, lied about being domestically abused by her husband, who threatened to kill her, but she was afraid to tell her parents. She had nowhere to go, so she had to come to him. This instantly aroused her ex-boyfriend's protective nature, took Amy to hide in his suburban villa. He reassured Amy that the house was surrounded by surveillance and that it was perfectly safe. Nick, on the other hand, had already fallen into Amy's trap. Fortunately, the police have not yet found any direct evidence to prove that he killed his wife. At the same time, his wife's disappearance was being reported on the television. The media is already pointing the finger of suspicion at Nick. At this point, a lawyer reaches out to Nick. He was sympathetic to Nick's plight and believed Nick would be willing to defend him. The next day, Nick approached the lawyer. He suspected that his wife had faked her own death and framed him for it when she found out she was cheating on him. The lawyer immediately realized that if the police found out about it first, there was no doubt another motive to kill Amy, so he advised Nick to contact the show to reveal his affair. A heartfelt confession on TV might win public sympathy. After rehearsing this dozens of times, Nick was ready. Amy watched Nick's remorseful confession on TV. She didn't see a single flaw in his face. Nick reminisced about the good things he had done with Amy, blaming himself for ruining it all, but he believed his wife was still alive.
"Amy, I love you. You're the best person I've ever known. And I've taken myself to the woodshed the way that I treat you. And if you come back, I promise I will spend every day making it."
It was at this moment that Amy believed Nick's words. Because her husband had really been reflecting, she had to find a way to make sense of it and go back. So a few days later, when her ex-boyfriend was leaving, she deliberately bit her ex-boyfriend's mouth, pulled out his shirt and messed up his hair. She recorded it all on CCTV, then immediately ties a rope around her legs, immerses her clothes in red wine, slamming her head against the glass of the doorway under the surveillance with a face full of pain, wailing at the blood on the corners of his skirt, as if she had just been humiliated. By the end of the night, Amy had left deep strangulation marks on her wrists with a thin rope. As soon as her ex-boyfriend returned, Amy greeted him. The man thought he'd finally got his chance. Amy took advantage of his lack of attention. Amy pulled out a tool from under the pillow and slashed him across the throat. The man lost his life before he could struggle. The next morning, Nick was awakened by a commotion outside his window. The sight before him stunned him. Amy, covered in blood, slowly walking towards Nick. Amy cried to the police about the day her ex-boyfriend rang the doorbell. He had then been kidnapped and held captive. She had been assaulted several times during that time. This time she had killed him in self-defense. Amy instantly makes herself out to be the victim and a hero who fought back against evil. Anna confronts Amy about the clues she found earlier, especially the diary. Amy says she's going to faint and pretended to be emotional, blaming the police for almost convicting her husband of murder. Anna's boss immediately apologized. She was immediately sent home to recuperate. At this point, Amy's face broke into a smug grin. The two of them were escorted home by the police, and Nick couldn't trust Amy anymore. The woman in front of him scared him. He knew his wife had just killed a man and told Amy to stop the charade. As soon as the men outside left, he would leave the house immediately, and Amy confessed. She was a victim in the eyes of the public at the moment. It was so hard to get back to her husband. If you leave, you'll be blamed by everyone. And so Nick is imprisoned in this terrible marriage. He and Amy play the loving couple,